Welcome again, everyone. I'll just start with a couple of questions, and then we will leave it to our audience. And I guess I will start with both Steve and Channing. Can you talk about your process of getting into these characters? Steve, particularly you, here's this real person who was, there's a lot going on, and he does this terrible thing at the end. But you, of course, don't approach it that way. You can't approach what all his mental craziness is. You have to approach it a whole different way. Can you talk about that?
Well, the first thing is you don't. I didn't approach him as a villain. You look at him as a human being, and he's some of his parts and his upbringing, and there's a lot of speculation as to his mental state and drug use and alcohol. So there are a lot of things in play. I tried to research him, learn as much as I could about him, and interview people who knew him, and then once we got to Pittsburgh, just let go of it and try to kind of disappear into Bennett Miller's world, really.
Yeah, I think is what you all did, and Channing, you've done this before, of like taking on, this whole sport, and really like developing the body and the stance and everything of a wrestler.
Yeah, Mark Schultz is, I had the fortunate, opportunity to really get to spend time with my character, for obvious reasons, other people haven't, but, and it added for a lot of, some scenes, I don't know if I ever could have done without Mark Schultz. Having met him and hung out with him and spent time, he was even on set a little bit, and other times it was confusing because people they're complex and it's hard. And for Mark in general, I just really wanted to get he's a very emotional person in a beautiful way. And, he's a wrestler, and it definitely defines him as a person, but, there's a lot more to him than just a wrestler. And, I tried to, he was a brother, and I think that was probably one of the most important parts of it for me, and feeling what that would be like. I've never had a brother. And really just, get into his skin, and then listen to Bennett, and go for whatever ride that he wanted me to go on.
I don't really want to go down the line here before we get to you guys, but I sort of will. Because that's how I line them all up. Vanessa, well, it's first of all a very testosterone-driven film. There are very few women in it. But, Vanessa, I'd love you to talk about your character because I think we only hear you speak in one scene. And then before the end of the movie, your character dies, but yet I feel like you're in practically every frame, or at least every frame that Steve's character is in, that John DuPont is in. Can you talk about this woman, and also playing a character by saying very little? But every time we see you on screen, your presence is all powerful to me.
I do find it very difficult to talk about character. You can talk about preparation, but in this case, I didn't really prepare because I felt I just had to go by what Bennett would indicate, what light he'd throw on these troubled waters of this family, of which he's definitely part. And questions arose in my mind. And probably being the age I am, 1,000 thoughts floated through my mind, but I had to absolutely focus on what Bennett asked for, and I had to remember that what we're thinking isn't necessarily what's reflected. We are complicated human beings, as you said. We all know that. All these characters are complicated, and I want to just begin to guess at the complication of your character and the choices you have refused to make, or could have made, or who knows, I can't say for you. But I guess I often think now, having seen the film, why did this woman turn to horses? And that puts certain thoughts going into my mind, because she certainly, as anyone who loves horses and spends their life dedicated to horses, not the son, but the horses, clearly. That's there very clearly in the script, I think. But yet total physical contact with the horses held between the legs, and I think most of the photographs she's riding cross saddle, not side saddle, but anyway, very much riding the horse. And I suppose I see a connection there between that desperate need that all human beings have, especially when they're young, if they never get the warmth of physical love from their mother or their father, or from a nanny or somebody who's taken the place of parents. If they were robbed of that, my God, what were they robbed of? So then I leave it as a question mark, because, you know, you can't, I hate labeling a character that I'm playing or anybody else is playing. And that's, I think, what Steve was basically saying.
Not as eloquently as that, but yeah.
I can't.
She speaks for
Okay, next.
she speaks for all.